Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are two best friends absolutely obsessed with horror, and we are here to dive deep, crack some jokes, and probably scream a little bit along the way. I am Emma, and as always, I have with me my spooky sidekick, Allison.
Spooky sidekick.
Do you like that?
I want to put that on a name tag.
I know. Oh, that'd be cute. Hello, my name is Spooky Sidekick.
I love
Ale.
it. Ale. How do I emphasize the ale? We got to spell it differently.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later,
Yeah,
though.
we'll figure that out. But Ali, what have you been up to, my girl?
A lot, I think.
A lot and a little bit all at once.
Yeah. Gotta love balance. It was my husband's birthday last week.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday. I actually got a local rapper that I'm obsessed with and see at events all the time to do.
What's his name again?
Joe Dreams.
Oh, yeah. Joe Dreams in San Diego, you guys.
He is San Diego famous.
Wow.
And I reached out to him. He did a little birthday rap for Kevin.
That's fucking fantastic.
So thank you, Joe Dreams. And that's Dreams with a Z. Last night I finally watched Together.
What were your thoughts? I mean, just quick.
I have like so many thoughts.
Okay.
And I watched it with my parents.
Okay. All right.
It was good. I think the ending could have been different, and I will get into that when we cover it someday.
Okay.
Yeah, but I finally watched it. Yay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of films that have been watched, producer and I got to see The Conjuring Last Rites when it came out.
I heard that killed over the weekend.
It did a really, really well. I'm not going to lie. It might be up there with one of my favorite Conjuring films. There's 4 of them now, and I'm ranking it. I mean, number 1 is still number 1 always in my heart. There you go. Oh, fuck, that gave me chills. But I'm going to say this one is a number 2. I went in with really low expectations, to be completely honest, but it surprised me in a lot of ways. So I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I'll have to check it out. I'm not like the biggest Conjuring series.
Universe.
I'm not the biggest fan, but I'll check it out if you say so.
I mean, that's kind of what we've been up to. And guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, because by the time that this episode comes out, y'all are going to know. But we're coming out with merch,
Hell
you guys.
yeah.
We are going live with some merch on Friday, September 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are so, so, so excited. And if you are listening to this and have no clue what this means, go to our Instagram. We will have a post up that has all of the details about the different merch that we're going to be offering. And then we're really excited. This has been such a long time coming. And at the end of the day, like, we did all of this for all of you who have wanted merch for a really long time. I feel like it's going to make me cry when I see someone like wearing our stuff in the wild for the first time. Like, that's going to be so cool.
I didn't even think about that. That's going to be awesome.
I know. So yeah, very exciting things happening. And we wanted to launch it in September so that y'all have enough time to get some stuff for October.
Rep that spooky shit.
So Allison, what are we reviewing today?
Today we're reviewing 2017's Get Out.
Hell yeah. I've been waiting for this one. It's a good one.
It is a good one. So I had watched it when this initially came out, and I hadn't watched it since. So this was essentially my like first time watching it again. So I hadn't remembered anything I had associated with the film. So this was basically a fresh watch for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and a lot has changed in like with the social temperature since 2017. So this film makes it mean even more.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it makes you think a lot more, makes you look inward a lot more. But did you have any thought? I know you really like this movie. So what were your initial thoughts?
I loved this movie as being like the debut of Jordan Peele really coming into the scene as this horror director and really being taken seriously. And I've loved all of his subsequent films since. So this one really kicked it off for me. I loved like the entire premise. I loved the deepness of it. And I could talk about this for like hours and hours, and Als, I'm sure you could too. But this film definitely has those social issue undertones. Obviously, that's like literally what this entire film is about. And I just love a film that's not scared to talk about things that maybe people don't want to talk about. And I think it was amazing that Jordan Peele really brought that out of the shadows, so to speak. I love this film, and I remember seeing it. I loved it when I first saw it. I've seen it several times since, and then watched it a few times, obviously, in preparation for us having this discussion. So I'm fucking ready.
Let's fucking go. But speaking of being ready to fucking go, this is your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Get Out, we're going to spoil the shit out of everything. So either go watch it and come back, or if you don't give a fuck, then come on this journey to the Sunken Place with us.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
No, thank you. But also, yes, come with us for this. This film's plot follows a young Black man who uncovers shocking secrets when he meets the family of his white girlfriend. I mean, that's really it.
That's it. A little wordy, but yeah.
I think that really covers exactly what it is. That's it on the surface, but oh boy, do we get fucking deep. It was released in theaters on February 27th, 2017 by Universal, and it received a lot of critical acclaim for the screenplay, directing, acting, and the social critique themes. And it was a major commercial success, grossing $255 million worldwide on a $4.5 million budget.
That's so impressive.
Fuck yes. And I think that the ratings of this film too on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes also speak really true to that, and they align with kind of like the reception. So IMDb scores this as a 7.8 out of 10. This may be the highest rated IMDb film that we have done so far.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Well, certainly for the tomato meter.
Yeah.
Tomato meter says 98% and popcorn meter is 86. That is so high.
High in both realms. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I do love this film. That's super fucking high though.
Yeah, that is high.
Producer says it's Toy Story numbers. Wow.
Hey, very true. Very true. When this film was merely just an idea, Jordan Peele was introduced to producer Sean McKittrick by comedy partner Keegan-Michael Key in 2013. So if y'all know like Key and Peele, great show. They're just an amazing comedic genius pair. But Peele and McKittrick met for coffee, and Jordan started his pitch with, "Here's one that you'll never want to make." And Jordan Peele pitched him the entire story. So fascinated by the premise of the movie, McKittrick immediately committed to the project and told Peele that he would pay him to write it. Amazing. And Jordan wrote the first draft of the script in just 2 months and didn't decide until then that he also wanted to direct it. It sounds like as soon as this really like kind of started getting into other people's ears, it was like, let's fucking make this thing, which is so cool.
It was also interesting because if you have seen Jordan Peele's like other bodies of work, you wouldn't really, this was out of left field for a lot of people because they know.
At this time, yeah,
totally. At this time. And you knew him from like Key and Peele and just comedic roles. And then all of a sudden, this masterpiece.
It really had a lot of buzz. Like there was a lot of people talking like, can he make a good enough film because he has, or a good enough horror film, I should say. Peele noted the similarities between the horror and comedy genres in their pacing and their reveals, stating that his experience with comedy had given him really good training for this film. And then fast forward to now, he's like quickly becoming one of the best horror icons of our generation. Like he's really, really put out some really amazing pieces of work in the horror genre. The hype of this film was real. Get Out scored 4 Oscar nominations in 2018, Best Picture, Director, Original Screenplay, and Actor by Daniel Kaluuya. And Jordan Peele became the 3rd filmmaker to earn Picture, Director, and Screenplay nods for a debut, and the first African-American to win Best Original Screenplay. It also joined only 5 other horror films ever nominated for Best Picture, which were in the likes of The Exorcist, Jaws, The Sixth Sense, Silence of the Lambs, and Black Swan. But despite its win, the Academy was a bit split. Some of the older voters clashed with some of the younger ones, and some admitted that they hadn't even watched the film. And one anonymous voter dismissed the campaign as playing the race card, quote unquote, claiming that it pushed them away from voting for it. So that sucks, but I'm really glad it still had all of these amazing accolades because like very well deserved.
So with all that going on, this kind of greenlit the path for Peele to now go on and make all these other great films and continue to do so. Which
it's like he became trusted, like finally. It was like, okay, we've seen what this guy can do. He clearly was very decorated for it in the award realm. And so we want to see what else this guy can do.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so enough of the nitty-gritty details here. Let's get into this film. But first, Allison, I want to cheers to, I believe this is episode 56.
Yep.
Very exciting. Cheers to spooky season.
Cheers to spooky season. Cheers to this movie. And cheers to us.
Get Out opens with an introduction to our first character, which is Andre, played by Lakeith Stanfield. And he is a young Black man on the phone, and he is lost, kind of walking through this very quiet, seemingly upper-class suburban neighborhood at night. He's like muttering a little bit about how it feels like really creepy. And he's like telling the person he's talking to on the phone, like, this just like is not his type of place.
I have questions about this. I want to know, who's he talking to?
Yeah.
Where is he going? But it definitely seems like, unfortunately, it does seem like he's out of place in this neighborhood that he's in. And if you notice, he is surrounded by tall green hedges that are protecting the houses. And that's a little nod to The Shining.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Little hedge action. Hedge maze because he's a little lost.
And exactly. It makes you feel uncomfortable because it is like that maze.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
Peele also described the scene as kind of the perfect white neighborhood, and he loves the movie Halloween, and so he wanted to make it feel like that.
Oh, God. I just love Peele because he's not scared also. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but I fucking love when horror movies give nods to other horror movies. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say it. I will say it 1,000 more times in other episodes that we do in the future, but fuck yeah, I love this. A white car pulls up slowly behind Andre as he's walking, and it's like clearly stalking him. He's aware of it. He definitely like tries to change direction and stuff, but the car keeps kind of this weird, eerie pace with him.
And that's the only car on the road, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
This scene is mostly unbroken, and that makes it even scarier. Something about a long, unbroken shot is impressive and scary at the same time.
Totally, dude. Totally. And then suddenly a masked figure comes out of the car and attacks him. This person, whoever this is, chokes him unconscious. We see like definitely a little bit of a scuffle, and then eventually like drags him and shoves him into the trunk of the car. And while this is happening, by the way, the song Run Rabbit Run is playing on the car stereo as it drives off. And this is just like giving a very cheerful yet like sinister vibe.
Yeah. And Run Rabbit Run is obviously a song about chasing your prey.
So scary.
Something of note is the masked figure is actually wearing a Knights Templar hat. And that's a real thing. The Knights Templar believed they were descendants of deities. Peele did this on purpose to reflect that whoever this masked person is, or him and his associates, if you will, think that they belong to live forever as a deity, and you live forever in no matter like what form that may be.
Oh shit, I did not know that. Yeah. That's a good catch.
Yeah.
This scene too, especially with the music of Run Rabbit Run, really sets the tone too of like most of us would be walking around this neighborhood thinking it's very quote unquote safe. Sometimes these safe neighborhoods really like are not safe at all. And I love too how this music, it's sort of like changes too after he's captured, and it becomes this like really intense string music that plays at the end of this scene. It makes you like unsettled a little bit.
Well, it definitely sets the tone, and the sound, I just don't know why it reminds me of something that would be in a Tim Burton film, like something by Danny Elfman to kind of set you up for what's to come. Also, fun fact is, right after I watched this movie for this podcast, I went on a night walk because I love a night walk, and it was in my parents' suburban neighborhood at 11 p.m.
Oh, shit. You were walking around and you're like, this looks like the setting.
I was like, oh, shit. I'm looking out for that white car with the Knights Templar hat guy.
Yeah, seriously. Did this opening feel kind of like, I don't know, did it feel like horror film at first, or did it feel kind of like true crime-y? Oh, here's a kidnapping that we're witnessing.
I think he set it up really well to make it feel like a horror film.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even if it is like true crime-y, like true crime is horrific.
That's very true. Yeah. I do love a film that can set things up right out of the gate too. Like within the first scene, we've got some action already. Like I love that.
Yes. And I talk about this a lot, but sounds and music and score can really set a tone too. Even if it's like, the silence, that's scary. He's walking in silence in this neighborhood.
Yeah, it's all like purposeful.
Yeah, everything's purposeful. And then the songs that we do get are setting us up for what's to come as well.
Spooky.
Yeah, so I think he did well with that.
One other thing I just need to mention on the song choice, it also kind of reminds me of Jeepers Creepers. If you listen to Jeepers Creepers, the song, like Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? That song inherently is not scary, right? If you didn't attach it to the Jeepers Creepers film. If you listened to that song, totally never saw the film, whatever. But now that you know the film, now that you know what it associates with, that's how I felt about Run Rabbit Run. This like inherently kind of upbeat song, but because of the context, it like makes it so fucking scary.
Also that song in Insidious, Tiptoe.
Oh my God. Through the wind. Oh, wait, sorry, cool. Start again. From the top. 5, 6, 7, 8. Tiptoe through the tulips.
Now that you say that, I notice a lot more films, even in like Ready or Not, like run, run, run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
God, so scary.
Songs can make a world of difference.
Literally. Then we are immediately in a daytime setting, and we are in like a car point of view where we're like inside the car looking outside a window, and we're driving through a forest as we get these opening credits.
It's giving, again, The Shining.
Yes, totally.
Jordan Peele really looked up to Kubrick and his filming style and all that stuff. So just like it, as they're driving up to the Overlook Hotel, we get the scene where this car is driving through the woods. If you notice when it actually says "Get Out" as the title card, it looks just like the title card of The Shining.
Oh, I didn't notice how similar that was, but now that you say that, holy shit, that's so cool.
And while this is all happening, there's this amazing song being sung in Swahili.
Yes, yeah.
And it's essentially telling, look out, listen to your ancestors, look out, like.
Very eerie. An eerie warning.
It also kind of slaps.
It does slap. I want the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Then we are introduced to our main character of the film, and that is Chris, played by Daniel Kaluuya. He is a young Black photographer, and he is prepping for a weekend trip with his white girlfriend named Rose, played by Allison Williams. And he is in his nice urban apartment somewhere in a downtown area. I forget if they say like exactly where they are.
I was just
New
like
York.
I was assuming like New York.
Yeah, because I think later in the film, Rod, who works for TSA, mentions LaGuardia, and I know that that's like a New York airport. So I'm just going to assume like New York. So anyways, he's like shaving and showering and stuff, and Rose is getting ready as well, and she kind of shows up to his apartment with some like donuts and coffee. Very lovely. I would love that.
And we kind of, even just with these few little shots, we get that. So it's like a young, fresh romance, and that's what we're met with.
You seem to like them at first. You're like, oh, they're a cute little couple. Let's see where this is going.
Yeah.
While he's packing, as Rose is now in his apartment and helping him kind of finish up, he's nervously asking her if her parents know that he's Black.
And as I'm watching this, Chris is obviously asking because he's worried. And I just thought, wow, I've never had to think about asking a question like that. And so Peele really is setting the tone as, you know, bringing up the uncomfortable questions.
Totally. And it's like that social commentary, just like you said, Als, it's like the fact that he's bringing that up, especially like so quickly in this film, it's just getting like that social commentary out there, because the fact that we even questioned it is like, that's the purpose, right?
But we would be like Rose, who is just like, what the fuck? Rose says, no, not at all. Like, my family is so progressive. And she says, actually, my dad would have voted for Obama a third time, and he's probably going to bring that up when you see him for the first time. So,
and she's so like, they are not racist, and it's like, okay, you're so convincing. Like, then on the drive, Rose breaks one of Chris's cigarettes because I think he was like about to smoke it, or she finds it or something, and she throws it out the window because she doesn't like his bad habit. This is definitely going to come into play a little bit later in the film.
So they're driving, and Chris's friend Rod calls him up, and this is played by Lil Ray Howery. And it's his best friend who's watching his dog while he's away. And he's a TSA agent, and Rod makes some funny commentary about meeting a white girl's family. And basically throughout this whole film, Rod is our sounding board. He's speaking the truth, but in a really funny way. He's basically, you know, screaming what we're all thinking the entire time.
He's like a non-creepy harbinger.
Yeah.
He's like, red flags, yeah. Here you go. One thing I loved though about this scene is that even though Rod obviously has his reservations, you can tell he still has developed some sort of a relationship with Rose, because they have this cute, kind of funny, friendly, flirty banter, kind of like as a joke.
Yeah, basically like, oh, you know, I'm just with Chris to get to you, Rod, kind of thing.
Exactly. Something else that's kind of interesting about Rod's character is that apparently Jordan Peele is just a huge fan of TSA agents, and Rod's character was developed around how much he loves and respects TSA.
Lil Ray, he actually came out and said now that every time he's at an airport, a TSA comes up to him and is like, thanks, man. Like, that was awesome. Like,
he's like, yeah, you did us good.
Yeah.
I love that. Then after Chris gets off the phone, Rose and Chris actually hit a deer in their car.
It's a bit of a jump scare.
It's a bit of a jump scare for sure. And they're okay, but obviously the deer is not. And
they hit the deer, and then it ends up so far in the woods. How did it get out there?
Yeah, it's It's not great. So they get out of the vehicle and they see the wounded animal, and you can tell Chris is like deeply shaken, but Rose treats it a little bit on the casual side, I would say.
Yeah, and Chris actually feels compelled to go look at the deer because he can hear it crying.
Yeah, so sad.
You can tell this is traumatic for him for some. I mean, obviously it would be traumatic for anybody.
Yeah.
Especially that car. Woof.
This also gives me Talk to Me vibes with the kangaroo.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something kind of funny is they do actually call the police to come and do whatever the police are supposed to do. And the cop actually says, next time, please call animal control.
Yeah, he's like, this is not a cop matter. But because a cop was called, the cop ends up asking for Chris's ID, which is really strange because Rose was the one driving. And she makes that very apparent to the cop. She's like, wait, why do you need his ID? She's really trying to like make sure it's very apparent to us as the viewers, to Chris, to the cop, that she is an ally. And she's really pushing back and defending Chris and is like, you don't need his ID, because obviously police brutality is a huge issue. I thought that was like kind of interesting, like right at the top of the film, like she's really positioning herself in that ally position.
One could say that, but also it suggests an ulterior motive to not get his identification.
Potentially.
Think about it like that.
They don't want any paper trail of him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Get his name and all of that. But Chris is impressed with Rose's standing up for him. And
oh, totally.
He was like, that was kind of hot.
Yeah, he feels definitely like, okay, that was nice.
She's basically like, hey, nobody messes with my man.
Yeah. Did you feel like you trusted Rose in this scene, or did her overly cool girlfriend shtick kind of come off as suspicious?
I'm going to say something and it's either controversial or not. I don't think it is because I've heard this from several other people. I think she's like a bitchy. Like, I think she's like a perfectionist, bitchy kind of person. She comes off that way to me. Mind you, I watched all of Girls, and she reminds me a lot of
Marnie.
Her.
Is it Marnie?
Yes.
Yeah.
This character reminds me a lot of Marnie.
People had a lot of issues with Marnie too, right?
Yeah, but I think that was the point.
Yeah, of her character.
I've heard Allison Williams talk about it, and she says, like, that's the point. But there is a little bit of Allison Williams in these characters. Like
bias, maybe?
Yeah. Well, so I think she comes off like bitchy is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, got it. I feel like I trusted her in the beginning. Like in the very beginning, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see like how their relationship blossoms. I love this for them. And then, obviously we know what happens, but.
Maybe I'm a bitch, but I immediately was like, nah.
No, you're good.
Not into this.
Then Chris and Rose finally arrive at the very big, isolated Armitage estate. And this is like Rose's family's home where her mom and dad live. And as they drive in, Chris immediately notices that they have a black groundskeeper. So just something like he kind of clocks. He's like, oh, okay. And then we meet her parents. So we have Dean, who's played by Bradley Whitford, and Missy, played by Catherine Keener. And they welcome him really warmly.
They're playing cool.
They're playing so cool. It's not even an issue that he's black. Mm-hmm. They haven't batted an eye at it. It's almost kind of too much.
Yeah, sure. But I do think this is how I think people do act like this to overcompensate. It's like they
overcompensate. I was just going to say that. Yeah. They want to be like, oh, I don't see race.
Yeah.
Like,
specifically, Dean, the father, is playing cool dad, like, oh, I'm cool.
And he keeps saying like, hey, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Like,
he does say the Obama thing. He's like, you know what? I would have voted for Obama again.
Yeah.
And the actor Bradley Whitford actually came out and said he didn't know that was supposed to be satirical writing. He just read it as sincere, so that's how he played it, and that's how it came off.
It came off very genuine, yeah. Dean then goes to take Chris on a little tour around the house, and Chris is seeing, some of just the little details around, and some of that includes some family member photos, and he gets to learn a little bit about their lineage via these photos.
Dean's father was an Olympic athlete. But I'm so proud. My dad was an Olympian, but he actually was beat by
Jesse Owens.
Yeah. He's like, I'm still cool with it kind of thing.
And Chris even makes a comment. He's like, even though, your dad still like placed really well, like he got second place right behind Jesse Owens, he's like, oh, he was beat by a black guy. Like almost like, does that bother him type of thing. There's those like underlying tones of things that aren't said.
So they're on this tour that Chris just agreed to. Dean was like, do you want to go on a house tour?
You can't really say no when you're the girlfriend's boyfriend who's coming to the house for the first time.
Totally. And when you get a house tour, you kind of understand that the house is going to play into this plot and become almost a character itself. And they're walking past a door and Dean is like, oh, that's the basement. It's got black mold. We don't go in there. Yeah. And it kind of just sets you up like, okay, so we're going to go in the basement at some point.
Yeah. Capacity. Like, what's going on down there?
Yeah. And then they get to the kitchen where we meet Georgina.
Yes. Yeah. So we meet Georgina, who is their black housekeeper, and she's working for the family. And we now have two black characters who are both like workhorses for the family. We've got Georgina, the housekeeper, and then Walter, the groundskeeper. And they're both like very polite, but they're both like unnervingly robotic as well and very old fashioned. They're almost wearing like very old fashioned outfits, and their blank stares and just their behavior kind of feels like really out of place.
It's like too perfect.
Yeah, it's way too perfect.
So they continue this tour outside, and there's this beautiful like gazebo. They're on this great big property, and Dean mentions, we're the only house around for miles. It's beautiful. We have the whole place to ourselves. We
Another
get it.
Sign of privilege.
Yeah. Also like, a sign of isolation.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And Dean does mention, I understand, look, I understand that.
He's like, oh, I know how it looks.
I know how it looks, and I hate that it looks this way to have two black housekeepers. And he says they were caretakers for my parents, but when they died, I just couldn't let them go.
Couldn't let them go. Yep, that's the phrasing he uses.
Yes. And then the whole family starts to gather under this beautiful gazebo just to have a cute little conversation. Dean can actually see Chris kind of his hands clawing,
like
fidgeting at the table. Mm-hmm. And then he immediately clocks it. He's like, hey, you a smoker, Chris?
Yeah. He's like, you got a smoking habit? And then they bring up how Missy, the mom, she does hypnotism, and that she has helped family members and people in the past kind of kick their addictive habits. So he's like, hey, you might want to take her up on that. Like, she can help you with it.
As they're sitting around just chatting, Georgina is also pouring them iced tea. And at a certain point, I don't know if you noticed, but as soon as Missy plays with her teacup, Georgina snaps a little bit. She freezes and starts to overpour for Chris. And then Missy catches that and kind of does something. And it's like, oh, why don't you go lay down, Georgina? And she's like, yeah, I just might do that.
Yeah, and Georgina, of course, still being freaking weird, like just with her phrasing and all of that stuff. So then Georgina goes and lays down, and then while they're all still chatting in the backyard, Rose's parents bring up that this weekend is going to be the quote-unquote big get-together. It's this apparent like once-a-year party to get all of their friends together, and it's such a weird scene. I wonder if you clocked this too. It's such a weird scene because Rose like kind of acts like she is like, oh, that's this weekend, but then her parents are like, Rose, it's literally the same day every single year. Like, and she's like, wait, is it? No, it's not. And it's kind of this weird like, who's like lying here? Or like, Rose, are you really just that dumb that you like didn't realize you're bringing your boyfriend on this big weekend?
I think knowing what we know, I think she played it off. They all played it off just like as they scripted it.
Yeah. What do you think like unnerved you the most during this introduction scene? Like Walter chopping the wood as they were like driving into the property, like staring blankly with his intensity, or Georgina just like smiling way too long?
I think it was the whole combination of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
it's like out of place. It all feels out of place.
Everything, it reminds me of Stepford Wives.
Yes. Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
You're coming to this place and it's
like too hospitable.
It's too Stepford and it's trying to welcome you a little too hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was just about to say, like, why is it always creepier too when people are just like a little too nice?
Yeah.
Like, and sure. I pride myself on being like a very, very nice person. Like, I hope I never creep people out. The producers, he is nodding at me. Did I creep you out? Well, you're living with me now, so I guess I won. Also, one other question too about Dean. Do you feel like his quote unquote like super liberal dad routine comes off as genuine, or is it like already a big red flag? Aside from the part about Obama, because that did come off like really genuine. What were your first like impressions of him?
Honestly, and I hate to say this because this family is me basically. And not in like any malicious way. It's just like, I think he is just trying to be cool.
Yeah. And you're always trying to be cool.
Yeah. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm kind of a bitchy and I say it like it is, but just trying to be hospitable and cool. And I think he's playing.
So it came off like pretty genuine.
To me, I think he's playing his role well.
Yeah.
Remember, this is like rewatching it for the first time for me.
Exactly. Then later at dinner, Chris gets some quality time with Rose's brother, Jeremy. So Jeremy is played by Caleb Landry Jones, and he showed up a little bit earlier that day while they were all still out on like the deck, kind of having their little chit chat.
Jeremy is also, he's studying to be a doctor as well.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if we mentioned, but Dean is also a neurosurgeon. So family of very, I would say like highly academic and affluent people. And that also just right then and there also kind of privilege because we know like they make a lot of money. They obviously have this big property. Their lineage is continuing on with their trades. And so at dinner, unlike the rest of the family's like faux politeness, Jeremy is quite the opposite from them. I would say he's like pretty openly aggressive. He's a bit drunk, it seems. And he's weirdly fascinated with Chris's genetics and like his body, which is weird.
He is. And he's commenting like, do you do jujitsu or anything like that?
Well, I think he says like, do you like MMA?
Yeah. He brings up these different kind of fighting things. And he says, if you, with your willpower and your genetic build, you would be very powerful. And it's giving me a little bit of Calvin Candy from Django Unchained.
Oh my God.
Just looking at him like,
oh, totally.
A piece of meat that can be sculpted for power.
Yep. He's just honing in a little bit too much on like, he's saying genetic makeup. He's not saying exactly what that means. It's like an unspoken sort of, you're obviously talking about the fact that he's black.
Yes, exactly. And he even proceeds to try and almost fight Chris.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He like gets up and he's like, what does he say? He's like, come over here, and he tries to fucking wrestle him. I'm like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Chris was like, stood up for himself enough to be like, I don't mess with people who are drunk. Like, yeah.
Luckily, Missy, she shuts it down like pretty quickly. And Jeremy's like, oh, well, I wasn't going to hurt him. It's like, no shit, you weren't going to fucking hurt him. Like, you drunk ass. You're an idiot. But anyways, that just like scene kind of pissed me off. It felt very entitled. Like Jeremy he is as the family is in real life in this film.
He's not acting.
He's not acting.
I liked it. I thought it just gave a little.
We needed a little bit of a juxtaposition.
I said it right.
You did it. Then later that night, as everyone's going to bed, Rose confides in Chris, telling him how weird she thinks it is that her brother was just being so strange at dinner and how strange her parents are acting. And again, just really leaning into that ally role.
She's doing her part. She's
playing that girlfriend role well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sold me. So after Rose goes to sleep, Chris is actually still awake. And I mean, it's a weird
He's uncomfortable.
He's in his girlfriend's parents' house in a strange location, and he's got this stuffed animal that's looking at him, so he turns it away. I just love
the lion. Did you notice? A lion.
Yep, and I just love that little part. So he actually sneaks outside and notices he has a cigarette and a lighter in his pocket. How convenient.
Very convenient.
And he pulls it out to go to have a smoke. We can tell he's still thinking about that deer from earlier too. Like,
yeah, he had a moment in bed right before he went outside too, where he the sound. Oh, the person that did the sound engineering for this did such a good job. It sounded like the deer having a torturous cry, but then it immediately snapped out of it. Even as the viewer, you're taken back to that scene when they hit the deer.
So all this is happening, and then fucking out of nowhere sprints Walter. He's coming at Chris full speed, and it reminded me of like the boulder in Indiana Jones at Disneyland, the boulder coming towards you, and then
totally you're like, oh shit, this thing's gonna get me.
Yeah, so Walter's just fucking sprinting, and then he takes a hard cut and doesn't run into Chris, but just keeps running the other direction. Like, what the fuck?
Okay, I would say too that the beginning, this scene too, is the first, I would say, like, scare. It was almost like I guess the deer was like a jump scare, and then when he is just running, I would be terrified. If you did that, I would be like, what the fuck is Allie doing right now? I'd be scared as shit.
You'd be scared initially and just be like, oh.
No, but then I'd be like, what's this bitch doing?
Yeah. Just Allie.
But like such weird behavior.
And he doesn't say anything. He just fucking runs.
Yeah. And just runs away.
Yep.
It's so funny.
And then on top of that, Chris turns around and sees Georgina through a window who looks like she's looking outside or in Chris's direction. But she we get the shot from inside where she's just admiring her physique and just playing with her hair with that fucking creepy ass big smile.
Yeah. And just like everything about her is just so, it's like off-putting. Like, what's that thing that people talk about these days called like, I think it's called uncanny valley. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. So there's this phenomenon going on, and it is something that you might see on like social media. For those of you that aren't aware, the uncanny valley describes the eerie, uneasy, or even fearful feeling people experience when encountering artificial entities, robots, or computer generated characters that are highly realistic but not quite perfectly human. Obviously, she's like a human in this film. There's something off about her. So she gives that like uncanny valley feeling.
So it's like AI.
I mean, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you look at an AI photo of a person where you're like, this is almost perfect, but you know there's something unsettling about it.
For sure.
Just so everyone knows what that means. But anyways.
Yeah, it's like Stepford Wives.
It's just so unsettling. And I was actually just going to ask, like, what do you think unsettled you more? Jeremy's aggression at dinner, or do you think Georgina's quiet kind of weirdness and awkwardness?
I think Jeremy's being real. So that as unsettling as that is, it's just like, it's real. Georgina is that robotic kind of form. She's giving
There's more under the surface where Jeremy's like putting his cards out on the table.
Yeah. I don't know which I respect or hate
don't.
more.
Yeah. When Chris eventually comes back inside, Missy is awake and she's sitting in her little like office area, and she invites Chris to come and chat.
Why the fuck is she awake?
Well, I think they're watching his every move at this point. But she invites him in to come and chat, and he sits like opposite of her, and she's got her little teacup and her little spoon, and she kind of coaxes him into hypnosis. And she starts by chatting with him about kind of why he was outside, which was he went to go have a smoke. And she's like, do you smoke around my daughter? That's my kid. Please don't smoke around my kid. Without even really asking his permission, she just kind of like goes into the hypnosis.
Right. She starts explaining the process to him, and he's like, oh, you just got to wave a watch in front of me.
Yep.
And then she starts explaining it can be any fixated object. And then she's explaining it while actually just fucking doing it.
While doing it. Absolutely. Yeah. As she's doing this and Chris is becoming entranced in this process with her, she's starting to dig into his childhood trauma. So she starts asking like, well, what about your mom? And he's like, obviously doesn't want to talk about it. There's some deep-seated like trauma and issues there. But she gets out of him that his mom died when he was like very, very young, and she died in a hit and run while he stayed at home and he was frozen watching TV, unable to call for help. And he lives with that guilt every single day.
And can I say, first of all, that's why we kind of gather that hitting the deer earlier is so triggering.
Totally.
It's reminiscent of his mom's death.
And not going and helping it either. Yeah. Like in any capacity. Yeah.
And not frozen, not being able to help. And I will also say Daniel's acting in this is so crazy powerful.
It's unreal. It is so good.
Because you can see him really shift from like, oh, I'm just talking to my fucking girlfriend's crazy mom. She's asking all of these things and he is so reluctant, but somehow he can't stop but tell.
And as it gets deeper in the process, and Als, I'm sure that you noticed this too, the emotions are behind the eyes, but his face is just sheer kind of like blank. Mm-hmm. But we see like the tears running down his face. We know that he's like really thinking about all of the trauma. And similarly, that's kind of how Walter and Georgina operate a little bit too. They have these like blank stares, but you know there's something behind there, but you just can't get to it. That's maybe where their true like consciousness is. It's just hard to get to.
Just something crazy about the acting here. This actually got Daniel the role, this scene.
Oh, really?
Because of his able to express kind of on command and do it incredibly.
Yeah, he did such a good job.
So there's a really famous shot of a tear coming out of his eye. And he was able to do that on command at the same time during every shot, during every take.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and do it wonderfully each time. So that got him this role.
God damn. Dude,
yeah.
I've always thought about that. Like, could I do that?
Damn, Daniel.
Damn, Daniel. That was a good one. Suddenly, as we're now pretty deep in this hypnotism process, Chris's body becomes completely paralyzed and his consciousness zones out and he sinks into what we're going to call the sunken place. And this is a void where he is floating helplessly and he's watching reality through this almost tiny TV screen that's kind of getting further and further away from him. So he's seeing Missy across from him, but the scene of her is getting further away as he sinks deeper.
It's a really trippy scene, and they did it really impressively, especially with how much budget they had, or lack thereof.
Yeah, totally.
And Jordan Peele actually said that the Sunken Place looks different for everyone. And this was...
Well, I was going to say, because like for Chris's character, he's got the TV because he was sitting in front of the TV when his mom passed and he was just transfixed, right?
Exactly. And it kind of represents... he's sinking, like the inability to do anything. So that's why this is what it is for Chris.
Yeah. And Missy's like calm voice echoes sort of in the background. And she says like straight up, now you're in the sunken place. And it's so creepy. Oof.
Side note, his sunken place looks like actual nightmares I've had.
Really?
Yeah, like actual ones.
Well, it's basically like just an abyss, a never ending abyss that he can't get out of.
Exactly.
Ugh, scary. Chris then wakes up in bed the next morning and he kind of jolts awake a little bit and he's a little bit unsure if this was a nightmare he just had or if what he experienced was real.
I mean, truly that would be terrifying because if it was so real.
Totally.
Yeah. But he goes to check his phone, which is unplugged now, inconveniently. And he's gotten a text from Rod.
Okay, wait. I love this text because Rod sends him a text and it's of Chris's dog who he has left in the care of Rod. And the dog is like not holding, but has a bottle of like some alcohol like in his arms. And he's like, Sid got drunk. And I'm like, this is amazing.
This is a text that I would get from you with Cowboy.
Absolutely. It was so funny. I was like, oh, I love this. He's a good friend. Then as Chris and Rose are like getting ready for the day and before the guests arrive for this big get together that the parents are having, Chris is just like wandering the property. He's like taking some photos because again, he's like a very well-renowned photographer. As he's taking photos, he actually catches Georgina getting ready and Walter chopping wood. He's again just kind of like clocking them. And he goes and approaches Walter and tries to have a conversation with him, but Walter's just being like extremely strange.
At first, he turns around when approached and he seems like he's mad, but then all of a sudden he's perfect smiling. And Chris says, "What you doing out here?" And he says, "Oh, I'm not doing anything I don't want to be."
Yeah, it's weird. All his answers are strange. Everything is just really just off.
Yeah, and he sounds polite and kind of old-timey, and he makes a comment about Rose and how she's a wonderful young woman and all of that, which is kind of unnerving.
Also weird, yeah. And he apologizes for scaring Chris that night by running full speed at him. He says, "Oh, I was just like doing my workout.
Doing my exercises."
I'm like, hello? In the middle of the night?
Yes.
You fucking weirdo.
Although I just said that I do my walks.
That's true. He also asks Chris if the hypnotism worked on his smoking habit.
And now he's like, oh, fuck, that was not a dream.
That was not a dream.
Yeah, I was fully hypnotized.
Chris then confronts Rose, saying that he's pretty sure that her mom hypnotized him last night and that even the thought of a cigarette right now is making him want to throw up. She is definitely like apologizing profusely.
Well, she didn't apologize as much as she wasn't as shocked as one would think. She was like, oh, I'm sorry.
She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like she got to you, basically. Yeah. Chris then asks her about Walter. He's like, okay, so what's like Walter's deal? He's trying to like tell her like it's not necessarily what Walter said, but it's just how he says it. Like it's just very off. And I feel like he can't quite like put his finger on what it is. And
he can't shake the uneasy feeling of everything. And I'm like, all right. At what point are you just gonna say this is all fucked? I'm leaving.
No, literally. There's a lot of signs pointing to like,
get the fuck out.
Just go. You have a dog and you could totally use him as an excuse for having to go home.
Exactly.
Which I think they kind of try a little bit later, but we'll see how that turns out. But real quick, back to the Sunken Place. How creepy was the Sunken Place? I mean, I know you said you've had actual like nightmares kind of similar to this, but how creepy is that compared to like traditional horror scares?
I think void is like this, just a complete void.
It's kind of like the scariest thing of all. It really is. Because there's no ending.
Yeah.
It feels like a
abyss.
Purgatory.
Yeah. It does feel like purgatory. And so I think that's trying not to freak myself out. I would think of like if I were in that situation, I would be like, oh, stars.
Well, I really like these. Well, that brings me to my next question, which is how easily do you think you could fall for hypnosis?
Bro, I think I'm the best target for that.
See, I think that it sucks because I am such a fucking believer and nothing fucking ever happens to me. So I feel like I would go in like, please hypnotize me, and it wouldn't work.
Well, I low-key want to be hypnotized to see if it would work because I'm the same way. I'm like, let's see it. Do it.
Like, I want to do it like at the fair, when they make you like, do like the chicken dance or something. I don't need like anything like real serious happening.
Well, if we could get somebody to hypnotize me to stop eating fucking Nerds clusters, that'd be lovely.
I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
Because
I love them too.
Tell that to my sugar intake.
Tell that to my Billy.
Yeah.
Later that day, a swarm of wealthy white guests arrive for the Armitage annual gathering.
We don't really get information about what this gathering is supposed to be. It's not like a birthday or...
Yeah, it has no like title officially, at least to our knowledge.
Just to get together. And if you notice, all of the older white folks that are arriving to this party are primarily wearing white, red, and black.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's really nobody in like a colorful garb.
No, they're like all wearing this color scheme. And it kind of, if you think about it throughout the film, like the house is white, all the other houses were white. The blood that we saw from the deer is red. Like it's kind of, I don't know. There's a color palette that Peele is using. Does it mean anything? I don't know. But I caught that.
It's very unnerving.
Chris comes down to the party and Rose is like, don't leave me. So she's, again, leaning into that role of girlfriend. Don't leave me. These are old people. I don't want to be here either. Chris has his camera that he can use as kind of, if you think about it, kind of like armor or a shield.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go take some photos.
Yeah,
or
it's an easy excuse to walk away if he feels awkward or just go and you never see anybody bother the photographer at an event.
The producer's disagreeing with us.
Well, it's a good excuse to be like, oh, I'm going to go take a picture of this.
It is, absolutely. So all these freaking white people, they greet Chris with really awkward, objectifying comments. I think one of the first couples that he meets is like this older couple, and they're talking about how the older gentleman used to be a professional golfer, and they ask Chris if he's ever golfed, and they're like, let's see what your swing looks like. And it's just like really weird. And some of the other folks are also complimenting his physique, asking about quote unquote, like the black experience, going so far as to saying like black is in fashion. It's like very weird because they're very forthcoming about all of these comments.
He's being treated as an object, really.
And it feels like they are sizing him up for auction or something, trying to get all the details. Chris then meets Logan, who, if you remember, is Andre from the very opening scene. And so this new Logan guy is now behaving very stiffly, wearing outdated clothes, and talks like someone from like another area. Talks like someone from another era.
Initially, Chris goes up to him and says, oh man, it's so good to see another brother here.
And yep, it's just not the same.
It's not, he when he starts talking, Chris can tell something's off.
Yeah, it's very much in line with the behavior of Georgina and Walter. And he also has an older woman as a partner who's at least 30 years his senior. Very weird.
Chris obviously tells like, oh, okay, this is extremely weird. And he tries to give Logan a fist bump, and Logan instead grabs his hand to shake it. That's visibly like a weird
big sign of like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's obviously very strange and kind of an outdated thing.
Yeah, it's just weird because Chris is obviously just trying to approach him just like a normal, like younger man would. Just like someone who maybe gives like high fives all the time or what have you. And it's just a very weird behavior because it just seems like that's not the first thing that Logan should be doing.
Right. He's trying to connect in a familiar way and he's met with an odd thing.
Exactly. Chris then meets Jim Hudson, played by Stephen Root.
Great character actor.
Great character. And he is a blind art dealer who definitely seems a little bit more genuine out of all the people that Chris has met this weekend. Even says that he knows Chris's photography because he's gotten his photography described to him in great detail by like some of his assistants and stuff. And Chris also knows Jim from some of his like more famous galleries, and they chat about how unfortunately Jim is blind now, and this was like a very progressive disease that took over. And he says this one part that is just so sad and kind of haunting. He says, one day you're developing Prince in the dark room, then the next you're in the dark.
And you can tell that Chris kind of feels more comfortable with this character, Jim, just like he's treating him like seemingly more like a real person rather
than. He's not asking about his like physical abilities.
Yeah, but he definitely comments and says, based on what I can picture based on the descriptions told to me, like, you have a great eye.
Yeah. We're going to hold that right there.
We're going to keep that in our back pocket.
Yeah, it's going to come out a little later.
Yes. Chris has kind of had enough of the party for a moment. He decides to go upstairs. And this scene's very important because this is where I took it as like, oh, fuck, shit's about to go down. Because as he's going upstairs, all of the older guests in the living room stop talking.
Everyone's focus is on him. And it seems obvious to us as the viewers that everyone's conversations are now just all about him.
Yeah. And it's kind of like this party is it for him, about him, and just all of them stopping and looking up.
Yes, exactly.
Indicative of like fucked up shit is it going to happen.
And Chris goes upstairs to call Rod. And as he's like about to go call him, he notices that his phone is unplugged and that it never even charged like he had set it to earlier. He then finds Rose and tells her his suspicions. He thinks that Georgina might have unplugged his phone. And he's really just kind of confused as to like why she would have done that. It's all just weird stuff that's like kind of adding up. Then he finally gets a hold of Rod, and as he's like telling Rod about the weird party and how he was hypnotized the night prior, Rod is like trying to tell him like, dude, all that stuff is really fucking weird, but Chris is not fully buying it just yet.
He basically is like, I fucking told you not to go into your white girlfriend's house. I told you. And he says, you know what? Sex slaves are happening right now. I bet you're being sold to a sex slave.
Listen to Rod.
Listen to Rod.
Please.
Again, we're all screaming exactly what he's saying at the film. Like, listen. As this conversation is ending, Georgina then interrupts and she apologizes profusely for messing with his phone while cleaning. And she has this whole story of, I unplugged it when I was cleaning the table and I must not have plugged it back in. Like, I'm so sorry. It's such an like unnecessary apology. It's so unnecessary. Like, why come up with this elaborate tale?
Yeah, it's weird. And he tells her, he's like, I'm sorry, like I wasn't trying to snitch. But she doesn't really get that phrase of snitch, which is really funny.
Yeah. And then he said something like, I don't know, rat you out. And then she says, oh, a tattletale.
Yeah, like Georgina in this role, she's physically like the same age as him. So she should know what like snitch means. I feel like all of us know what that means here. But she's almost saying it like she's like never heard this phrase before. Like it's very old timey. Like she's giving like old timey old person.
Totally. I think even when talking about this, she says cellular phone or something.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And that's the second instance like this in a row, in a very fast sequence.
Totally.
Of the fist bump, handshake ordeal, and now tattletale.
Yeah, it's very weird, very strange, very uncanny valley.
And coming from other Black characters specifically.
Yeah. Chris also tells her that he's kind of confiding in her and he's like, sorry, I just get kind of freaked out when there's like too many white people. And she gives him this painful stare and like really creepy smile while a tear runs down her face. And like I mentioned a little earlier, it's that stone cold facade, but you know that there's so much more happening behind the eyes, you know?
Like something's trying to get out.
Yes, I was just going to say like she can't get out. Then she tearfully repeats, she goes, no, before like snapping back to her like robotic tone. And she's like, no, the Armitages are so good to us. They treat us like family.
Like family.
It's very weird. And Chris is obviously like unsettled by this, but he tries to kind of like brush it off. Later, as he's like also suspicious still about Logan, as Chris goes back down into like the party, he's chatting with everyone. And I think like someone asks Chris, oh, what has your experience been like being Black? Like, how have you dealt with like the Black experience? And I mean, pretty smartly, Chris like diverts the question over to Logan. And he's like, I don't know, Logan, like, what have you thought about like the Black experience? And as Logan
basically is like, well, I found the African American experience to be
not that bad.
Yeah. Very pleasant.
Yeah, it's very weird. As he's answering, Chris secretly snaps Logan's picture with his phone, but his flash goes off.
LOL, how embarrassing.
Dude, that has happened to me. It's so fucking embarrassing.
Me too.
But this flash triggers something in Logan and almost makes him like snap out of this like weird trance that he's in. And he then lunges at Chris screaming, get out, before collapsing, and also has like a bloody nose at the same time. And the family, everyone just sort of like writes this off as like an epileptic seizure, which like, I'm sorry, but that's just, there's a difference between like a seizure and then also you being snapped out of something and you're like saying words like get out. Like that's pretty intense.
So that's just another unsettling thing, is seeing Logan that he's just had this awkward experience with go through what they they call a seizure.
And it's another example too of like, hello, another red flag. Okay, I have two questions here. Do you feel like Chris like should have left after this incident with Logan? What do you think?
Well,
if it were you?
I mean, me as a film goer is screaming, bro, get out.
Yeah, totally.
But as somebody who has been to spouse's parents' house, like, you kind of have to stay.
Yeah, there's like that internal pull.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure in his mind, he's not thinking, oh my God, these people are auctioning my fucking body off. He's like, yes, these white people are weird. They're just weird.
And that makes it harder because like he's probably had plenty of weird experiences.
I think he does say to Rose at some point too, like this isn't even this bad, like that bad compared to some other experiences he's had.
So like even though all of this is whack, he's probably like, okay, this is just how they're acting towards me.
No, totally. Okay, second question is, if you can remember, which party comment that was made towards Chris made you cringe the most? Because I have one on the top of my head.
I think somebody was like literally touching him and talking about muscles.
Okay, yes. And I'm going to piggyback off that. She also goes, is it true what they say?
Oh, gosh.
And she like looks down at his junk, and literally him and Rose are both like, wow, okay, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and say that. I would have been like, what the fuck are you doing?
You would not have said that.
If I was Chris, I think I would have.
Okay. Well,
but
also,
then I don't want to like scare a bunch of white people into what they're inevitably going to do anyway.
Also, at some point with Logan, the spouse says, oh, well, we really haven't left the house or the bedroom or something like that.
So creepy.
So, yeah, cringe.
After this whole like situation unfolds and Logan and his much older lady partner have like left for the evening, things are winding down a little bit, and Chris and Rose take a stroll outside to go get some air. Chris is starting to confide even more in Rose about how weird everyone is and how he doesn't even believe that Logan is epileptic. That's just like not what it looks like.
Yeah. And so he's starting to bring up all of his concerns and how he's actually feeling. And then during their interaction, we see Dean and all of our older white guests having a silent auction on the lawn by the gazebo. And I think that they did this so beautifully, this intercut of Rose and Chris, and then this game going on. It's so eerie that they're both happening at the same time. And
it's even extra eerie because it's like a silent auction.
Yeah.
So like there's nothing that's really alarming to Chris in the moment because he's not seeing it happen.
Well, also they're on this massive ass property. Like even if they were talking a little bit, I bet they wouldn't even hear him.
Yeah.
And something wild about this scene too is, as we're seeing this is in fact a silent auction, we pan down and have this poster-sized picture of Chris.
So then it becomes fully clear that they're having an auction on Chris, but we don't know exactly at what capacity just yet. Like, what does that mean exactly? And I think for a lot of us that just grew up learning about slavery, like a lot of us immediately are like, oh shit, is he going to become like a Georgina or a Walter maybe to some of these people? But as Chris is still talking to Rose, he's like telling her too that he believes that Missy got into his head. And he's like, you know, now that I've had this weird hypnotism experience with her, like I've been thinking of really fucked up shit that I don't want to think about. And he's like, I just need to go. Oh, I wish he came to this conclusion earlier. We all do, right? We're all yelling at him at the screen like, come on.
And at first, he basically alludes to the fact that he would leave Rose there if she didn't want to go with him.
Yeah, totally. Then back at the auction, as they're obviously auctioning Chris, these wealthy white guests are like raising these bingo cards and they're bidding silently. Mr. Jim Hudson from earlier, who had what we thought was a very genuine conversation with Chris, he wins the auction, essentially like quote unquote buying Chris. But again, we don't know at this point in the film just yet, like at what capacity.
And I kind of liked that he won because out of all of the creepy fucked up things that guests have been saying to him,
yeah,
and could have purchased him essentially as well, Jim, the guy who had the most reasonable conversation with him, was just like, I just want his eye.
Yeah. He's like, let's be real. Let's be real here. So Chris, very unaware still that this like auction is happening, he tells Rose again about how his mom died and how hopeless he felt in that moment, and how he feels so terrible that she died cold and alone while he was just watching TV, and that he couldn't have done something.
Meanwhile, while he's freaked out and saying, I want to leave, I gotta go, this isn't settling with me right, even though he just said, I would leave without you, he basically says, I'm not gonna leave you, you basically are all I have.
Which is so sad. And because he has that trauma with his mom, that's like the last thing he wants to do to anyone he cares about again.
However, Rose is like, fuck this shit, let's go home.
So when you're watching this, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, fuck yeah, Rose.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I thought she did a pretty believable job of like not knowing what her family was up to, or just being like, no offense, but a dumb enough girlfriend that she was just oblivious. And I was like hoping that they were going to get out together.
Yeah. And she basically says, I hate this too. Let's make something up and go. Yeah, let's go immediately back to the house. Let's get the fuck out of here. And as they're getting back to the house, most guests are like have left already. The rest are trickling out. And there's this weird ass shot of both Dean and Missy on the porch, kind of waiting for Rose and Chris to get back.
Yeah.
And fucking Jeremy is leaning against one of the columns outside of the house, playing, I think,
oh, it's like a ukulele.
No, he's playing like a banjo or like...
No, I think it's a ukulele. Yeah.
He's playing something weird and just kind of ominously strumming it as...
It gives me like Sinners vibes.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
But the family, all the guests are leaving, and now the family are just kind of, not evidently, but they're...
Things have shifted almost.
Things have shifted and they're closing in on him in a way.
Yeah. Do you think that Jordan Peele like made this auction silent versus like a loud auction because it was just kind of more disturbing that way?
100. Silence is terrifying.
Yeah, right?
And I think it speaks louder that it is.
No, so true. So true. And it's just that much more creepy knowing that it was like going on under Chris and Rose's like noses as they were having their discussion.
Yeah.
Off to the side.
I guess what would have happened if they stuck around for that part? Like, how do you...
Yeah, I don't know.
How do they construct that in their little plan?
Yeah. Do you think that there was any part of Jim Hudson that actually cared about Chris? Or do you think for the entirety of it, it was just he always had that ulterior motive of having his body?
I mean, knowing what we know down the line, I think he truly just wanted the body. Like, sure, he is a human and deserves to live, but these are rich, privileged people and are just like, I'm going to get what I want by any means necessary. And what he wants is to be able to see and have that art eye again.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. He just sees Chris as an object. Then when Chris makes it back to his and Rose's room for the weekend, he sends the picture of Logan that he had snapped earlier on his phone to Rod. Rod like immediately calls him, and Rod tells him, he's like, hey, like I know that guy. Like that guy's name is Dre. And I don't know if we mentioned it earlier too, but at one point I think he's talking to Rose when he first meets Logan, and he's like, I recognize that guy. He's like, I know him, but I don't know him.
Yeah, he's like I can't explain it, but I do know him.
Yeah. So Chris is telling Rod on the phone, he's like, Logan or Dre or whatever was just acting different. And then Rod, again, being the voice of fucking truth, is like, dude, you got to get the fuck out of there. So while Chris is packing up because he's finally decided like, okay, I'm going to get out of here. Rose is on board too. She wants to go. Like, we just got to get out. This is too weird.
And let's keep in mind, Rose is packing somewhere else.
Yeah, she's like not with Chris in this scene. But he finds a box in that room's closet, and it's this red box, and it has pictures of Rose. And then as he like is flipping through the pile a little bit more, he finds a lot of photos with Rose with other Black men, and even one of them a woman, even though she said that he was actually the first Black guy that she had ever dated. And as they're flipping through, one of the men is actually Walter.
And the woman's Georgina.
So things are now starting to add up. I think Chris is still kind of confused as to what's happening. He doesn't understand necessarily why, but he knows like some fucked up shit is happening.
Do you think this closet was left open and this box was perfectly lit on purpose for him to kind of get the picture and move this shit along?
I was kind of wondering that because at first I was like, he uncovered the secret, but it felt very purposeful.
It felt like it had been left open for him to find.
Exactly. Yeah. So I agree. I think it might have been just like okay, you need to get with the program now because you're stuck and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's obviously clearly freaked the fuck out, but he's trying to act cool so that they can just get out there like very calmly. And so as him and Rose then like reunite and they are trying to get their stuff out, Chris is like near the front door and the whole family is there like in the foyer. Jeremy is holding like a lacrosse stick and he's like twirling it and it's being really weird. Dean and Missy are also kind of nearby. It's like they're blocking the entrance but not blocking it at the same time. Like they're trying not to be like super obvious. And Chris is just asking Rose like repeatedly for the keys, but she's doing a very good job acting like she can't find them.
And women with our massive ass purses, those things are black holes, truly.
Yeah. She's just like digging. Our purses are very much the sunken place.
Truly.
Very much so. Then suddenly the entire family kind of blocks his way. And Dean is also being super smug in this moment. And he's like asking Chris about his purpose in life. And Missy's calmly stirring her fucking hypnotism teacup. It's like all very, very strange.
And then obviously Chris is getting the picture here and he's showing that he's scared. And he's just like, dude, Rose, where are the fucking keys?
Then he like yells, I think, at one point. He's like, Rose, where are the fucking keys? Or something.
And then I love this scene. All of a sudden, Rose pulls out the keys and her face just flips.
She drops her act.
She's like, I can't give these to you, right, babe?
So spooky. And
but I love how she just perfectly like.
It's really brilliant acting.
Yeah,
it truly is. Yeah. Chris tries to lunge at Jeremy and Missy at the same time like clinks her teacup and this sound freezes Chris and he unfortunately like drops to the floor and he's paralyzed and he's now falling back into the sunken place again.
And what's scary about this instance with the sunken place is the TV is showing the family now trying to move him and he's obviously unable to do fucking anything.
But he's like seeing it in his subconscious happen. It's so spooky. Meanwhile, Rod is trying to get in touch with Chris again, but is having no luck. Rod like knows like something really fucked up is happening and he actually starts doing like his own research and starts searching Dre's name on the internet and finds out that Dre has actually been missing for 6 months, which we knew as the viewer because he was kidnapped in the very top scene of the film. Again, just all the pieces are coming together and things are starting to make more and more sense. Did you like suspect Rose at all before this moment or did her turn like shock you?
I mean, like I said up top, I never trusted Rose. I thought she was bitchy. I thought she was playing too like almost too coy. She was like she made too much of a joke.
Too cool.
Well, she made too much of a joke out of it. Like, oh yeah, okay. Like even at one point Chris says, "Oh, I think Walter's into you." She's like, "Oh, do you think I have a chance?" Like
she's playing into it.
She's playing into it. But I still do love like her little, even down to her little hand flip with the keys. She's like, I can't give this to you, right, babe?
Yeah. Oof. I'm not going to lie. The very first time I watched this, she got me. I totally fell for her really good acting. Again, I think I mentioned I was hoping that they were both going to get out together and that Rose was going to realize her family is a fucked up, fucking crazy, racist piece of shit and that she was going to be like, bye-bye. I never knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just the naivete in me.
So what you're saying is Rose did not leave room for Chris on that door in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
She did not. No. Unfortunately.
Not
she
this
did
time.
Not.
Wow, maybe I should reference everything back to Titanic now.
Yeah, maybe.
Instead of the Polar Express.
I would like that, actually.
Or I do both.
Yeah, there you go.
Just make this podcast 3 hours long.
Perfect. After Rod is done doing a little bit more research on Dre, we're back at the Armitages. Chris wakes up and he is strapped to a leather chair in the basement, facing an old TV. And this TV begins to play as he wakes up. And this video, almost like one of those old school, like informative, like PSA videos. Yeah. It is, of course, a bunch of white folks. And this video is like explaining what they call the coagula procedure. It was founded by Dean's father. He was trying to look for a way to essentially keep his mind alive, be able to take advantage of some of the, I would say, like athletic and more physical like advantages that they believe Black people have. And doing this coagula procedure is essentially transplanting white people's brains into like black bodies.
It's kind of a funny video because it's like, this is going to happen. It's like literally.
It's like basically, this is what's going to happen to you. But here's some education on it.
Treating it all cutesy, like, just think about it like this. You're helping us out and your body is going to live on forever.
Yeah, it's like totally treating it so cutesy.
Yeah. And at the end of this cutesy little video that's basically telling you you're about to be trapped in a body for forever, we see Roman's family start to join him and be like, look, you're helping us all out. And it's actually Roman's wife and their two children and grandchildren who happen to be Dean and Missy and Jeremy and Rose.
Kids, yeah. Yeah. And another thing that they mention in this film too is they're trying to make it seem like not as bad. And they're like, oh, like there will always be a little bit of you in there. Your original consciousness will stay trapped in the sunken place. But like there will be always like a little bit of you kind of like in there. Okay, well, that's not fucking reassuring, like at all. It's giving very like Lumen from Severance, sort of. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Then back with Rod, thankful for this freaking Mr. Rod, he goes to the police station and he's going to try to report the Dre and Chris situation. My buddy Chris is at this fucking crazy white people's property and he's like, there's some really crazy shit going on there. And he's like, also Dre is there. And he shows them like a picture of Dre. And like Dre is also with a woman now who's like 30 years his senior, acting fucking weird. There's some crazy shit going on there.
I thought this scene was so funny because initially when Rod goes and speaks to an officer or a detective, he's like, my boy's missing. Yeah. And then the woman was like, okay, so how long has your son been missing?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, he's my friend.
He's like, he's 26 years old.
Yeah. And then he's like, but he went to go visit his white girlfriend's parents. Yeah. And then she starts to seem more intrigued and is like, okay, go on. And then it
becomes like a funny story.
It becomes funny. And then she's like, hold on. And then she brings in two other cops to be like, to hear this whack ass story.
And she's like, don't say I don't do anything for you guys.
If this happened to me, this would be Emma trying to explain weird shit to these cops right now.
Well, and I love this part too, because he tells the detective and the other cops, he's like, I think the Armitage family has been abducting black people and making them work for them as sex slaves and shit. They're just like, oh my God, this is so like unrealistic. And they obviously don't believe him. And they unfortunately like laugh him out of the station. Rod is trying to call Chris's phone again. And suddenly Rose answers. Oh my God. She does this scene, Allison Williams, so brilliantly where we see both perspectives. We see Rod on the phone and Rose on the phone. If you closed your eyes and listened to Rose talk, it would seem like a very panicked girlfriend because Rose tells Rod that Chris has been missing and that she hasn't heard from him and she's worried and all these things. But her face is like blank.
Mm-hmm. She's kind of turned herself into her real form now.
Yes.
She's a
trickster.
Yeah, she's wearing a tight white turtleneck. Her hair is slicked back in a ponytail.
Yeah, she's like not her colorful little kind of artsy self that she was at like the beginning of the film.
Yeah, she's completely stoic in the face and trying to be like, oh my gosh, we don't know where he is either. Rose basically says, oh, well, he left a day ago and came back to see Sid, the dog, and Rod can tell that this is some bullshit. So he's like, oh, really, really, Rose? Okay, well, hold on one sec. This is kind of funny of Rod. He's like, oh, I'm going to figure this fucking shit out. I'm going to record this bitch.
Yeah.
And he's like hyping him up like, yeah.
He's like, she talks too much. She's going to spill something.
Yeah. So he starts to record it, and back with Rose on the phone, it kind of flips in reverse on Rod.
Well, he tells her that he went to the police and reported him missing. And I feel like that's like when it really flips because she's like, she then spins the entire conversation and she tries to act like he's into her. She's like, well, you know, Rod, you've always been into me and blah, blah, blah. Because she probably knows he's also recording. Well, she's like trying to be 2 steps ahead of him.
100%. This ain't her first rodeo.
Totally.
But, it just plays back into how at the very beginning on the phone with Rod to the Armitage's house, they were being like cute, flirty, funny on the phone. Mm-hmm. So kind of...
She's playing into that.
She's playing into it. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Then back with Chris, he eventually wakes up again and he's still in that leather chair and he's still strapped down. But suddenly, Jim Hudson appears on screen and Jim is in like a surgery gown. His head is shaved. It's very strange, definitely like prepping for surgery. And he's explaining that he wants Chris's eyes and youth since he is blind. They go into like the phases of how this whole process like started too as well. Like phase 1 is the hypnotism. Phase 2 is the psychological like pre-op, and then phase 3 is the transplantation or partial transplantation. He explains to Chris that Chris's existence will still be like a passenger in the sunken place, but that Jim will control all motor functions. Chris asks him, he's like, why Black people? He's like, well, some people just want to be stronger, faster, and cooler.
Additionally, and unfortunately, the truth is too, they won't be investigated as missing as much.
Totally.
Oh, a missing Black person?
Yep. There's a lot more deeper elements to that as well. It's seemingly easier overall.
But yeah, basically he's saying, I'll have your body and control it and be thinking in it, but you'll be able to watch that too.
Which is so fucking horrible. That's like literally a true level of hell.
Yeah, it's just like when we see Logan and Georgina and Walter, there's something behind there that can't get out. That's the part that would be remaining in the body for Chris.
Exactly. Yeah. And Chris, as this is happening, he hears the teacup again and he immediately is out. So we obviously at this point know very much so that that's like his hypnotic trigger. Then we cut to Dean, who is prepping for surgery for this transplantation. Simultaneously, we find out that Dean usually does like the surgery and he's in charge of the entire thing, and he has Jeremy kind of as his almost like nurse or like assistant.
His sous chef.
His sous chef, so to speak. But something amazing happens in this scene where Chris, he actually outsmarted the hypnosis and he did a little bit of acting of his own. With his fingernails, he like dug into the arms of the leather chair and got some like cotton or like filling out and put that in his ears so that he didn't actually react to the teacup.
Yes. So when Jeremy goes to gather Chris to get him into the operating room, Jeremy unstraps his arms from the thing and Chris is able to fucking hit him in the head with like a bocce ball.
Is that a bocce ball? Because you play bocce.
I do play bocce ball.
Did that look like a bocce ball?
It looks like a bocce ball, croquet or bocce.
Yeah.
And I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's great that he got the cotton out of the chair to put into his ear. How did he get the cotton into his ear if his arms were locked down?
He might have just been like, you're like,
I don't know. Are you that flexible?
I mean, I'd fucking hurt myself to do that.
Fair enough.
Just like reach your little... I think you could do it.
Okay, sure. If it were life or death, probably yes.
But I told the producer when we were watching this, I was like, he should keep those cotton balls in there, sort of. Obviously, he needs to hear a little bit so he knows his surroundings, but like just in case,
for sure,
she comes around.
For sure. So Jeremy is now either dead or rendered unconscious by this blunt object. Chris is free to move on and try and escape, and we see Dean kind of peek out of the surgery room and be like, where my fucking son at with Chris?
Yeah.
Then we see Chris actually yeet Dean with a mounted deer head that we had seen hanging in this room in the basement where he's been trapped. And something kind of funny, we didn't talk about it up top, but Chris and Rose had been recalling their tale of, we hit a deer and it was traumatizing. And Dean comes back and says, they're just like rodents, kill every last one of them, kind of.
Oh, yeah. He like believes that there's too many deer and he's like, honestly, good riddance.
Yes. And
that's a good tie. I didn't even think of that.
So what's the thing he hated most, the deer he's now being killed by.
Is what killed him.
But also it's the prey killing the predator.
Yep. Love it.
And also going back to the rich people shit, it's like to have a mounted deer head is kind of a rich people thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like if you have money if you're like hunting and mounting fucking animals' heads as trophies.
So now we've got Dean is dead. And so Chris has to, obviously there's other family members that he has to encounter. So he comes up out of the basement that supposedly had the black mold, but now we know it was like this dungeon for surgery and captivity. And he's coming up, and I don't know if you noticed this, but now there's smoke billowing everywhere.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so the house is actively catching on fire.
Oh, shit.
And then Chris sees Missy in her study where she does the hypnotizing. There's no words exchange except for both of them look at the teacup and the spoon. It's
kind of like equidistant between both of them.
So they both lunge for it. And it breaks. And then somehow Missy grabs a letter opener, another rich people object.
Totally.
Chris goes to defend himself, and Missy stabs him through the hand with it.
Oh, yeah.
Why so much hand stabbing? Ugh. And then Chris, using his strength, then turns it back on Missy and kills her. Chris is seemingly out of danger now, thinking that most of the people are killed.
Yeah.
And he tries to get to the door and open it. He still has the letter opener in his hand, by the way.
Hell yeah, as he should.
Yeah, so he's trying to open the door with his letter opener in his hand, and out of nowhere, fucking Jeremy, not sure how he's alive, but he tries to grab Chris and try to take him down.
Yeah, but Chris finishes him off, thank God. Done with that fucking guy. Then Chris is like feeling around to find some like car keys. He just needs to like get the fuck out of there. And he grabs some car keys. And what do you know? Right outside, it is the white car from the very beginning of the film that kidnapped Dre, which is terrifying. But as he's driving and trying to call 911, he crashes right into Georgina.
Meanwhile, Rose is sitting in her bedroom with headphones on listening to I've had the time of my life.
Great soundtrack, but horrible lady.
Odd choice. So she's sitting in her room actually looking up her next victim. She's looking at
NCAA prospects.
Yes. I mean, good for her for really getting on that next project very fast. Quick turnaround time, huh? So she's doing that, and something so creepy and feral that Jordan Peele put in this on purpose is she's eating cereal, but she's not eating like a normal person would. She's got Fruit Loops, dry Fruit Loops in one cup and milk in the other. And she eats a Fruit Loop and then takes a sip of milk through a straw. And Jordan put that in there to like make us feel
just uneasy.
Yeah. And hell yeah, it worked.
Totally worked.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but as they pan out and she's looking on her computer, you can see now that above her bed, all the photographs of all of her previous boyfriends are mounted on the wall.
Yes. Oh my God. So crazy.
Not sure how she had that much time to do that.
And kind of like trophies in her own right, right? So, scary.
She actually hears the crash of the car and she looks up and says, Grandma.
Yep. Back with Chris after he's hit Georgina. He sees her in his rearview mirror and she's on the floor and he's like feeling very guilty, having some flashbacks about how, he didn't get the chance to help his mother. And so he puts Georgina in the car. She comes to and eventually like attacks him pretty viciously, like while he's driving. And this reveals she actually has Rose's grandmother's brain in her body.
So she's screaming at Chris saying, "You've ruined my house." Like out of all things,
literally,
it's like the house. And you can actually see Georgina's wig fall off and you can see the scar that
from the transplantation.
Exactly.
They eventually crash into a tree within this whole scuffle, and Georgina is presumably dead then at this point. In this like final showdown, Rose has come out and she's like trying to figure out what's going on. Again, trying to rescue her grandma.
Yeah, there's kind of this epic scene where she comes out. She almost looks like a hunter and she's in her white turtleneck. She's standing in the doorway. There's smoke billowing behind her. She's not at all concerned with all these dead bodies or the smoke.
Just another day for her.
She pulls up a shotgun like she's ready to fuck shit up on her own. And then out of nowhere, Walter speeds out in front of her and she's like, "Get him, Grandpa." And I guess this is why he was training at night, because the grandpa had been the Olympic athlete that was beat by Jesse Owens, and now he was just prepping to fucking run.
He was ready to go. And this whole scene is just it's just so crazy because Walter then tackles Chris. In the same moment, Chris is smart enough to realize, oh yeah, like a flash worked earlier on Logan to kind of snap him out of the trance. So Chris flashes him with his phone light, and this like essentially like frees Walter. Then
he pauses, and you're not sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like did it work?
Yeah.
Rose, has this shotgun now, and Walter's like, "Rose, give me the shotgun. Like I want the honors of doing it." We find out that it is actually. Basically, Walter is not Walter anymore, and he takes the shotgun, turns it back on Rose, and actually shoots her like right in the stomach. And then unfortunately, and this is so sad, he then kills himself as well right after.
But because he knows the situation, and he just knows that that's what it's either that or live in this horrible world.
Totally. Yeah, because the transplantation has taken place already. So either way, he's not fully himself. Then obviously Rose is like totally down, but she's not quite dead. And Chris makes his way over to her and he's trying to strangle her. But he stops a bit short and he can't fully bring himself to kill her. And as this is happening too, she's fully trying to manipulate him and telling him like she loves him and like all this false shit, right?
She's like, I'm sorry, I love you. Please don't, I love you.
Yeah, totally being manipulative. And as he's like over her, literally about to kill her, sirens then approach as Chris is over Rose. And
this is such a gut-wrenching moment.
Oh, it is. You are so scared as this is happening because of all we know about like police brutality and just obviously it's not what it looks like.
Right.
And so you as the viewer, you're like terrified because you're like, oh, fuck, what are the authorities going to do?
Well, and especially since we saw at the beginning of the film, in the surrounding area, the cops that came were just like acting suspicious.
They are ready to blame the black person in any situation.
Right. And in a moment where in a different situation, you'd be like, oh my gosh, cops are here to help. He's like, fuck, I'm so fucked.
Totally.
And Rose is, oh, help me, help me. And then I don't know if you caught, she then puts on a wicked smile when she's like,
thinks that she's got him.
Yeah, thinks that now she's won.
Yeah, exactly. But so amazingly, it is just fucking Rod in his TSA car showing up to save him. We see that door open and it says TSA, like airport agent, and it's so fucking amazing. And it's so lovely because Chris then like leaves Rose, gets in the car with Rod, and as he like sits down, Rod just delivers this like perfect line. He says, I mean, I told you not to go to that house.
He's not even like, oh my God, are you okay?
No.
He's just, I mean, I told you.
He's just like, fuck, dude, I had to get you out of this mess. Chris is like, how did you find me? And then my favorite line is he goes, I'm TS motherfucking A. And it is like the best thing ever.
What a ending.
Yeah, and so Rod takes Chris and they ride off into the night, leaving Rose to die. And that is pretty much the film.
That's
but like,
fiend.
I know we talked about it already a little bit, but like, fuck, dude, my stomach dropped when those sirens appeared so badly. It was just so scary. Do we think Rod is just the best horror best friend of all time? Because like, I think so.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, he was your pick for our draft last year. He was your pick for comedic relief.
Yeah, he's so fucking funny. I love him.
He went to lengths. He knew something was up.
Yeah, no, totally. He knew, and he's like, I gotta save my friend, and he can't trust always the traditional routes. He just like trusted the resources he had, and he made it happen.
He took shit into his hands, and I know you'd do the same for me.
He did. Okay, I have two things here. So like Peele gave us like the happy ending here. Like, would the movie have hit harder if Chris hadn't survived? I feel like I would have been absolutely fucking heartbroken. Because then that just means like he really didn't get out.
I think it was more satisfying that he did because we didn't really expect him to.
And we took this like roller coaster,
and
there were moments of like relief and then panic and then like relief and then panic, I feel like, throughout. And then a fun fact I have actually is that the original ending had Chris strangle Rose and then the cops came to arrest him. And then it flashes forward to Rod visiting him in prison. And Rod is still like hung up wanting to find like evidence to clear his name, but Chris has just like given up and has accepted his fate. And Peele decided to change the ending because it just wasn't fair to the audience because the entire movie is made with the audience in mind.
Well, and he changed it after a bunch of test screenings too.
Exactly. But this ending is available as an extra on the Get Out DVD. Just fun fact there.
But great film.
Such a good film. What were your like final thoughts?
I thought it was a fantastic film that will be probably studied in film class moving forward.
It's just totally.
It changed how horror movies can really talk about uncomfortable subjects we haven't seen before, like race. I'd never seen a horror film just talk about it so openly. It's driving the plot. It's driving everything. I don't know. I just thought it was so brilliant. I do, however, have questions.
Okay.
I was like, okay, so we see that Jeremy and Rose are the ones to get the victims, if you will.
Yeah.
And they both have different styles. So Jeremy was like, just fucking kidnap them and run.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose, it was long term. It was like
a long game.
It was a long game. And she had been dating Chris for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So she puts in this effort. And I want to know, out of all these victims, do any get led back to this family? Because there's a lot. And if your best friend knows you're going to visit your white girlfriend's parents, you have her name. You potentially have like Find My Friends, you have an address or something, you have a phone. There's ways to find these people. Like, so does she have this paper trail of like crime?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. Like, she may move from like town to town, or simply because like what you said, which is super unfortunate, like Black people do tend to have less resolution. The stats like speak for themselves, unfortunately. So I think they really play into that. Like the Armitage family like knows that that they can always win. They have power, they have money, they can win.
No, less questions asked about missing.
Absolutely. And honestly, they could probably pay fucking people off if it came to that.
Yeah. So I think this was a brilliant film on like it really made you think about a lot of things. Like I would have never thought about this conversation, this whole dialogue around race and bringing it up like this. I thought it was brilliant is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think like the real horror here is racism, right? Mm-hmm. Like the film like reframes racism as the true monster. And it highlights this like subtler like polite forms of racism, sort of like with these microaggressions and like fetishes. And like also, I mean, Rose is a perfect example of it, but like performative allyship. And these are all things that are not so clear. When we think of people that are racist, we think of straightforward racism where it just comes out as like pure hatred. But all of these little microaggressions, they're so unnerving in this film. And that's what makes it like so unsettling, is that it feels really familiar and like all too real.
100%. And beyond that, I thought it was so creative how it was done.
Oh, totally.
Like beyond these little hints of moving past the racial aspect of it, the little hints of everything, like even going to the song in the beginning, the Swahili song, and you know, it's basically telling us what we need to know, but at the very top of the film. And then these little hints of old-timey characteristics in these characters who have been transplanted. Those little hints. So leaving little breadcrumbs to have you kind of figure shit out.
Yeah.
Rose not wanting the cop to see the ID. Did she want to stick up for her mans, or did she not want a paper trail? Like all these little clues. I love the creativity behind that. I love a little puzzle like that.
It's almost everything. There's a lot of little things that are, like it could go two ways. It maybe has two underlying meanings. I also think too, like using the sunken place as a metaphor is really cool too, because it's like the sunken place has really become like so iconic. It's not just like a creepy concept. Like it represents systemic oppression, silencing, lack of control that many marginalized groups experience in society for sure. And then even like going to like the Armitages, they're kind of like used as like an allegory in this. Like this family embodies this liberal hypocrisy. They claim that they like admire Black culture and that they're like so hip and cool with Black people and they would never be racist. They would vote for Obama again if they could. But it's like they're also simultaneously like exploiting and dehumanizing Black bodies. Jordan Peele really like flips the script on this like monster family trope by making their evil so eerily polite.
Yeah, and it's something we hadn't seen up until this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Again, going back to just Jordan Peele too, like him blending dread with comedy, his horror and comedy like mix here is so brilliant. Especially through Rod, my little TSA bestie. He's making these heavier themes kind of hit harder because the audience is disarmed a little bit by like the comedic aspects that Rod kind of brings into it before being thrown like right back into the terror.
He's right about what he said, and what you said earlier is like they kind of run through the same lines, comedy and horror.
Exactly. They can really be blended so seamlessly. And like I said at the top, I think horror and comedy, they have such a special place living together as one. And then also too, like horror as social and political commentary too. It really hits because these are real horrors for real people, you know? And God, Jordan Peele, just great fucking job. Bravo. Loved this film.
Major snaps.
I think like Get Out just like works because it just makes the viewer also like complicit. You're watching this horror story, but you're also forced to question how these dynamics like play out in real life.
Well, and it also forces you to think about yourself.
Exactly. Yep. And you're like, what microaggressions do I maybe commit that I don't even think of? You know, as you and I, white women, we are so privileged. We might not even realize things we're doing. I love like that education piece too as well. Everyone should go see it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, what's wrong with you?
I could talk about this like for so long. Yeah. But one last thing I want to say too is that I think like winning the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay too proved that horror can be just as powerful and artistic and like very culturally significant as any kind of drama out there.
I'd love to see it used more like this.
Yes,
you know,
totally.
I'd love to see horror used more to represent these different kinds of things that you don't normally see in a horror film.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what's so great about horror is it can just really span so many different subgenres, and horror is what you make it. And that was Get Out.
That's a fiend on that one.
You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. If you want some bonus content, please feel free to come and join us over on Patreon for our Spooky Chicks social club over there. We have a lot of fun with all those folks. You can support us by leaving a 5-star review wherever it is that you listen. But honestly, the best way that you can support the podcast is just by telling another friend who loves horror. And Allison, with that, would you like to close us out or get us out?
I'm going to get us out of here. Avoid getting hypnotized by a stranger. Trust your best friend when they say, get out. And stay spooky fuckers.